We love featuring artists you should know about on the show, and today we're heading to Ohio to chat with Hall of Fame singer-songwriter Richard Lynch. Richard's career spans over 4 decades, during which he's amassed a remarkable list of country hits and chart toppers. His latest album, called Pulling Up the Covers, is a tribute to the timeless classics, and he just released a Conway Twitty hit called Rest Your Love on Me as a single. We're stoked to have Richard Lynch back on the show. First, Richard, thanks so much for coming on.
Well, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me. What a blast. I appreciate you, buddy.
Well, man, I guess after a 40-plus career, it's time for a covers album.
Yeah. Well, you just don't want to be a kid and put a covers album out there. You got to have a few gray hairs and a few miles under your belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. How was it hard? Was it easy to pick these songs? How was it?
Well, it was difficult to narrow down to 14 original songs, 14 original cuts from my covers, because, like you said, I've been doing it for 40 years plus. But my better half, Miss Donna, she kind of chimes in, and we put together our ideas. And, the first song of the CD is called Memory Maker, which is appropriate because, this whole CD is about making memories of real traditional music over the years. And, so we put together 14. Well, we had about 20. We narrowed them down to the 14 that made it on the CD. And to conclude the album, I put Till the End. That's an old Vern Gosdin song, that Janie Fricke, did a cameo appearance with him on that. And, so I take it from the memory of the music, and until we conclude it with Till the End with the Vern Gosdin song, and we put everything in between it. So trying to make it an emotional roller coaster and take you down memory lane and just remember all those great traditional country songs.
Yeah, no, there's some good ones on there. Riding My Thumb to Mexico, Made in Japan, which is just a crazy track, but that's a cool track. Buck Owens is Made in Japan. That's also on the covers album. But man, I mean, we had you on when Radio Friend came out last year. You've just been knocking them out, Richard. I mean, you had Radio Friend last year. You got the covers album this year. You've already been in the studio knocking another album out.
We have. I've learned that, if you get a song inspiration, whether I'm out here baling hay or whatever I'm doing on the farm, I stop and go straight back to the kitchen table, grab my pen and paper and my recorder, and I start writing things down, or I forget them. I'm telling you that to tell you this. All these inspirations come, and I can't tell you when they're going to come. So we write them, we get the songs recorded, and, we're always trying to, make sure our fans and our listeners have some new material to look forward to hearing. And the Lord has blessed me beyond belief with these new songs and the inspirations. And the title of the new CD coming out is Some Days Are Better Than Others. And that's actually a song that I was inspired with a couple of fellows down here in our hometown. But, I'm just telling you that because you never know that inspiration is going to come from. And I want to make sure that I get my songs recorded. And, man, Larry Beard Studio there in Nashville, Tennessee is who we record with. Some of the finest musicians on the planet, engineers. They make my life really, really good when I get in that studio. And believe it or not, they look forward to having an old country boy from Ohio to come down and record with them because they know they get to play real traditional country music. And, not everybody gets to do that these days. So I'm kind of fortunate, I know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what is it? Is it because you've been doing it so long? Is it the good Lord? How is the inspiration coming so much these days?
Well, maybe both. As we get a little, age on us, for me anyhow, I tend to appreciate so many things that maybe you take for granted as a kid. And, we get a little older and, all of a sudden that cornbread and soup beans that Mama fixed, man, I really like that nowadays. And I'll just give you an example that, there's so many things that maybe you don't necessarily appreciate or, you love it until it's gone away. And then all of a sudden you get a retaste of things and like, oh, man, do I remember that. And so, I just kind of I just learned to listen. My daddy always told me, son, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen to people and you might be inspired, and he was right.
Yeah, go check Richard out. He's at richardlynchband.com. He's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. His new covers album, Pulling Up the Covers, along with the single Rest Your Love on Me, are out now. Well, you've mentioned it a few times. Your passion for traditional country music is just off the charts. Talk a little bit about it, Richard.
Well, I was born and raised in a country music household. And by that, I mean, my dad was an incredible singer, guitar player. He worked all the big shows. He worked radio shows. He worked TV shows as a kid. And, I can remember getting up and he'd be sitting at the kitchen table drinking coffee. And that old round top radio would be sitting there on the cupboard in the kitchen blaring Buck Owens and Mel Street and Conway and Merle and George Jones. And that inspired me then, and it inspires me today. There's nothing more gratifying than to hear a song that makes your hair stand up and it just touches your emotion, pulls on your heartstrings. And to me, that's what real country music's all about.
Yeah, for sure. You guys have, the best of both worlds. On your place in Waynesville, Ohio, you have a Keeping It Country farm. You've got your own, club that you've built on your property, which is insane.
Yeah, it's a big barn. It's people call it a theater, people call it a venue. It's just a great big barn that we built with music in mind. And we've had as many as 400 people in there, but we comfortably set 350, 360. And once a month, in the warm weather months, June through November, we'll have a Grand Ole Opry star or a national artist of some sort join us on our stage. And it's an absolute blast. People originally come for the music, of course, and then they come and they see the barn and the farm and the pond and the horses and the hay field. And they have a natural, comforting feel to them, especially if you have any type of agricultural upbringing or farm life or something, your parents or grandparents. They get this really comfortable, really warm feeling about it. And the sound is just absolutely phenomenal. And, it's just something we love to do. It's almost unheard of. Everybody that comes here says, man, we didn't know anything like this even existed. I said, well, because there's not many places like this, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, and you had a huge event this past weekend. You had the 2024 Ohio Country Music Hall of Fame introduction ceremony, and you had John Barry playing.
Pretty fun weekend, wasn't it?
Wow.
Yeah, John Barry, I had got to do a show with him a couple of years ago in Nashville, and I got to meet him. Super nice guy, super talented guy. And a guy named Jerry Salley was inducted into the Ohio Country Music Hall of Fame. He is a Buckeye, and he has done so well in Nashville, wrote hundreds upon hundreds of songs, had many, many, many artists in country music and bluegrass music record his music. And, we was proud to see him be inducted into the Ohio Country Music Hall of Fame. And there's another outfit, Mr. Steve Lakes and Steve Lakes Jr., also a local guy, and his son that's worked with Connie Smith and all the country greats from the 50s and 60s. So they got inducted into the Ohio Country Music Hall of Fame as well. Just a really sweet, good time here at the farm. Everybody's paying their dues and showing respect to their music that they love.
Yeah, no, it looks like some incredible events that he holds there. When did you know you had your voice?
Well, that's a good question. I think at a young age, I didn't care if I had a good voice. I just went around singing anything. So, but, we get older and we tend to have a hero or two, at least I did, and I would go grab a 45 or a 33 and a third album and just play it on Mom's turntable, and I would sing to the top of my lungs with every song that there was. And, got a little older and met a few friends in school, and we started playing little things in high school, and learned a few chords and got to play a wedding reception here and there. And I realized that, hey, people are asking me to actually sing for them. So, hey, there might be something here. So at the ripe old age of 15, I was playing the honky-tonks and nightclubs and wasn't supposed to be in there. But I mentioned my dad earlier. He was a well-received and such a well-received artist in and around our area. people would say, "Hey, that's Woody's son, Richard. Leave him alone. He'll be all right." So I had some opportunities that maybe a lot of folks didn't necessarily have at that age.
Hey, well, that's good. Well, and also at the Keeping It Country Farm, which I think John's event might have been, but you have a Love Tattoo Foundation. Tell us a little about your foundation, Richard.
Well, the Love Tattoo Foundation is designated to help and make awareness of our military men and women who do so much for our country. As far as I'm concerned, we can't do enough to help our men and women of the military. And the Love Tattoo Foundation does just that. The Love Tattoo Foundation has nothing to do with ink. It's a organization that specializes in someone's PTSD, whether they had a physical scar or a mental scar. Their tattoo is the scar or the experience that they went through serving our country. And we want to make sure that a portion of our show, every show, goes to a worthwhile function organization, usually in Ohio or Michigan, that we donate the money to every fall. And you've never seen so many people that appreciate what we've done for them in the military men and women. They never ask for anything, but they're so appreciative, and it warms my heart to be able to give just a little bit back to some folks that are so deserving.
Yeah, well, in a couple of the benefit concerts, you had T. Graham Brown, Ronnie McDowell, Georgette Jones. How big of a dude are you, Richard? Because when you're doing the duet with Georgette Jones, you go to hug her and you just engulf her, or she's really tiny.
Well, that is so well said. But Georgette Jones is, she comes from country music royalty. Her daddy, George Jones, or Mama Tammy Wynette.
Yeah.
But you would never know that she was country music royalty. She is one of us. She just so down to earth. She is so appreciative, and she loves paying tribute to her parents. She really has some great songs on her own that she has written, and she'll do the whole tribute to Mom and Dad during her show, and then she's asked me to, do George Jones, her daddy's part, several times in her shows. And to conclude her show, she has written a song that sums it all up, and she says how much she misses her dad and mom. And, it'll leave you realizing, yeah, this girl was raised right, and she's a real deal, and it's fun to be around her.
Yeah, it's cool. You did 2 or 3 songs with her
I did.
night, so that was pretty cool. If you go check out Richard's social media, he's got a couple of videos on there. Go check him out. He's at richardlynchband.com. He's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. His brand new album, Pulling Up the Covers, along with the single Rest Your Love on Me, are out now. Well, give yourself a plug, because you do a radio show on the weekends, Keeping It Country on Real Roots Radio.
I do. Every Saturday morning from 9 until 1 o'clock, me and my wife host a radio show, Keeping It Country, as you said, and we do all the traditional artists from the 50s till today, and all artists in between. We'll throw in one of our songs an hour, and we'll bring in a guest occasionally, or we'll have a phone in a guest from Grand Ole Opry or whatnot. It's an absolute blast. But we landed that back in May, and Real Roots Radio, you can get them. Of course, they're a terrestrial station right here in southwestern Ohio. They have 3 a.m. and 3 FM stations, but you can get them anywhere in the world with your device on your Real Roots Radio app. So it's people calling in from, Wyoming and overseas, and that, it's really heartwarming that, you got people really paying attention to the show, and I'm grateful that I had this opportunity.
Yeah, well, and it's cool. You're raising your grandson right. He likes hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, he does. My wife just took him down to Graceland down there. He's 12 years old, and he's Elvis crazy. And I was too. I still am but I remember as a kid how Elvis really impressed me. And so, yeah, my grandson, he's learning to play guitar, and he is loving Elvis, and he's loving Waylon, and he hangs out with Papa. So, yeah, it's a good way to see having him grow up, that's for sure.
Yeah, on your Instagram, you were fishing like a week ago. Where was that at? Was that by your place?
Yeah, I have a pond right here on our farm, right behind the music venue, and it's about 3/4 of an acre pond. And we stocked it several years ago, and just got a few minutes to grab my fishing pole and threw it out there, and the next thing you know, this monster of a bass grabbed it. I'm like, Dawn, look at this! And she had her phone with her, and she took some pictures. It was a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun out here. We got some great fish and catfish and bass and crappie and bluegill. And people that come out here, they always like to fish when they get a minute. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Yeah, there's a big picture of his big mouth bass that he caught. Well, pulling up the covers, you did this at Beard Studio. I mean, this album sounds amazing.
It actually is. That's what I was talking to a little bit earlier. You know, the Beard Studio, the whole organization are just absolute pros. You know, I got a guy named Scotty Sanders who plays steel on almost everything I do here in Nashville, and he works with people like George Strait. He works with people like Alan Jackson. He works with people that you will know, you know, huge names. And that's just one example. The lead guitar player, he plays with Daly and Vincent on a TV show every weekend. And I mean, these guys are the best of the best. And, you know, I'm so fortunate that I got to be in a studio with these guys and gals, because some of the background vocalists, you know, Tanya, if you listen to a couple of the background vocalists, Tanya is absolutely phenomenal. She brings a whole new life to two of the duets that's on here. I got a duet there called "Rolling with the Flow," an old Charlie Rich song. And, of course, Rest Your Love on Me, you can hear her singing background and on the background on that. And just to hear her and hear the engineers, you know, put their heart and soul into something like that, I mean, it's really gratifying for me.
Yeah, it sounds great. How hard was it to pick Rest Your Love as the lead single?
Well, I didn't pick it. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
My wife and we have a promoter, Michael Stover, who does so well for us. We just let them guys, you know, her and Michael listen to the 14 songs, and between my wife and Michael Stover, they came up with, you know, the song, hey, let's get Rest Your Love on Me as our initial release, because it's universal. You know, it was so big in the early days by the Bee Gees, and then Conway did it, of course, and massive country hit. So it has a universal interest, as people can remember from the 90s and before. So we thought we'd release that one there and have an opportunity for people to just reminisce on that on both sides of the genre, multi-genres, I guess I should say.
Yeah. Are we going to have another single off the album?
Yeah, we're going to have a couple more singles coming off this in here yet, so I'm not sure which one. Like I say, I'll let Michael Stover and my wife handle the end of the business end of that, so I'm not sure which one it will be. But, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and my goodness, people have really clamored to it, and I'm doing lots of radio interviews overseas and, of course, here in the States, and, you know, it does my heart good, you know, because I love the music, and it does my heart good to know that folks really still want to hear that traditional music.
Yeah, I mean, I think traditional's kind of coming back, or it's on the upswing, especially with a lot of independent artists.
Absolutely. There's a lot of folks, younger folks, that's gravitating toward it too, and that does my heart good. There's a guy named Alex Miller that's he did really well with the national TV show. I forget which one it was, but I mean, he's really done well, and he still continues to write and record and tour, and he just country as cornbread, so it does my heart good.
Yeah. Well, you were just down in Nashville. How does it work? Because we were talking before. You said your 4 or 5 hour drive from Nashville. I think you knocked out like 6 songs last time you went there. Do we stay a couple of days? How does it work?
We'll go down the night before, get a room, kind of chill out for a little bit, then we'll get in the session at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we'll get in the sessions with the studio players. We'll play, we'll get all our session work done by 1 or 2. And then that evening, we'll go back after lunch or everything. We'll go out and put all the vocals down on it. And then I'll do my part. And then within a few days of that, the background vocals will do that. So I can knock out 6 songs completely in a day and a half. And that's usually what we try to do.
Wow. Yeah, that's smoking in the studio. Holy cow.
It really is.
Doing six tracks. Go check him out. RichardLynchBand.com. His next big Keeping It Country on the Farm event is coming up September 28th. Go to his website. Go and follow him on social media. And like you said, some days are better than others. The next album is already coming your way sooner than later, so make sure you keep an eye on Richard Lynch Band. Well, Richard, thanks so much for coming back on.
Jeff, thank you. And for all your listeners, I sure appreciate the opportunity. Maybe we can get out to Wyoming in the near future and shake hands and hug some necks. That'd be fun.
Exactly. We'd love to have you out here. Here he is. Rest your love on me. It's Richard Lynch. It's KIX 96.5.